The 1st of September 2023, Ryan Gravenberch signed a 5-year deal with Liverpool from Bayern Munich. It has taken a while, but he is now one of the team's star players. How did he get so good? What makes him so important for Liverpool? The Dutchman is Liverpool's new and probably unlikely hero. There was no indication of this when Liverpool first signed him. He ended proving his doubters right with an unimpressive first season, with him not getting much game time at all. However, Gravenberch has managed to turn it around and be one of the key reasons Liverpool are leaders and favourites for the Premier League. Not to mention, they are top of the Champions League as well and have even beaten the mighty Real Madrid 2-0 in a statement win for Liverpool, and slots in his first meeting with Ancelotti. The Reds are really coming for all the glory this season. Liverpool coach Arne Slot is credited for Ryan's performances, but what other factors are involved? And is the Dutch midfielder the X factor that will help Liverpool win the league? There is a historical trend in the Premier League that the league table doesn't drastically change after the 10th game. There are different analyses in the past that have reached the same conclusion. In 2019, main reports have shown that most of the changes in the final league table are explained by where each team was just 10 games into the season. What am I trying to say? The possibility that the table will change drastically over the remaining 28 matches is 23%. So yes, it's not set in stone that the current league leaders Liverpool will win, but when you look at the metrics used to determine that report, you'll see why Liverpool fans can allow themselves to be a little more excited than they currently are. Liverpool's stats are very interesting this season. Which team has been churning out XG the most this 24-25 season? Liverpool. They also have the lowest XG against and also score goals in a correlation to their high XG. They are absolutely on fire. Not to be a party pooper, the XG model isn't perfect, and Liverpool so far have the lowest XG when compared to the past 7 Premier League winners, except for one. So who's that one team that has a lower XG than Liverpool as the time of recording? Simple. It's Liverpool themselves. Their current XG is more than what they had when they won the league in the 1920 season. Maybe there is some hope for them after all. Maybe they can win the Premier League. Or maybe they will be just like Tottenham and drop off from their position after the 10th game. If Liverpool want to win the league, Gravenberch must continue to be in form, as we have seen in recent years and even more so now with Man City's recent downfall with Rodri injured. A reliable holding midfielder who can control games and also provide an attacking threat when needed is key. So far, he's racked up several games where he was just brilliant. When Liverpool destroyed Manchester United, Gravenberch played a key role in helping them keep possession with some slick moves on the ball. Off the ball, he was something else. He won 6 of his ground duels, got 2 tackles in, and intercepted the ball 4 times and won his aerial duel. Then, he topped that performance with an amazing display against Nottingham Forest, even though Liverpool lost the game. He bossed the midfield. He provided a key pass, helped with long balls, and also duelled relentlessly. Gravenberch would always be important despite the delays to him achieving this feat. In a way, he was part of the architects of this delay he suffered. Gravenberch was born in Amsterdam, Netherlands, and began his journey to professional football with Zeebrugge before joining Ajax Youth Academy in 2010. He rose through the youth ranks, and the coaches of Ajax were in awe of his talent. Gravenberch was breathtaking. He was so good that in 2018, Ajax awarded him the first ever Abdelhak Nouri Trophy for being the best talent in the Ajax Academy of his generation. It was big praise, and next came for him to take the step into professional football. Ajax gave Gravenberch a professional contract and then gave him his debut in August 2018. Then in September, at 16 years and 130 days, surpassing the record of 16 years and 242 days set by Dutch league legend Clarence Seedorf, he debuted for the senior team. Imagine him eventually being like Seedorf in the end, and you'll see what we mean. Seedorf isn't the only legend that Gravenberch has similarities to. He shares similarities with a certain legendary Liverpool player. Can you guess who? Days after his debut with the first team, Gravenberch began to make his presence felt. Erik ten Hag, who was Ajax coach at the time, gave him his first start for the club, and he scored. It was an incredible way to begin his career with the senior team. Gravenberch was ready enough to begin to play week in, week out, but Erik ten Hag didn't rush him. Gravenberch didn't need the pressure and the weight of expectation of playing week in, week out with the first team yet. So, Gravenberch continued to feature regularly for the reserve team, scoring twice and assisting 9 times. What a way to begin. There was more to come. Gravenberch was ready to go in the next season, and he got more opportunities with the first team and could have won the league with them if it wasn't cancelled due to COVID-19. However, he wouldn't have to worry about this season too much. Ten Hag challenged Gravenberch to mould him into an incredible player. Ten Hag played him as a number 10, as a central midfielder, and as a holding midfielder, although he only played 17% of his games in the latter role. Gravenberch showed brilliance in all of these positions, just like how Steven Gerrard was over his great career, for example. The secret to his ability to excel in the several positions he played in was because of how comfortable he is on the ball, but isn't just that. Even at that stage, Gravenberch was a duelist. His ability made him popular in the Dutch league, and a certain Arne Slot was paying attention. Gravenberch wasn't at the level he is now, but it was enough for him to become a transfer target for Bayern. So, after winning his third title with Ajax in the 21-22 season, Manchester United and Bayern were contesting for his signature. However, Bayern signed him because they promised him enough playing time. This would be the first time of Gravenberch's many mistakes. He didn't consider those he would be competing against. Bayern had Joshua Kimmich and Leon Goretzka, who played as the pivots. Now, Gravenberch has experience in this role and can play both as a single pivot and as a double pivot. As a pivot, Gravenberch served as the link between the Ajax defence and midfield. He's comfortable on the ball, so when he receives the ball from the defence, he drives forwards and passes on to the two number 8s or the left back, who usually tucked into his side. Gravenberch felt if he could replicate his performances and continuous improvements for his Ajax days, he would be able to compete against the current Bayern midfield with the likes of Kimmich and Goretzka. He was also confident of his ability to hold off the ball with his strength and his ability to win tackles. He can be aggressive, and as the deepest player, he takes the initiative to quickly try to regain the ball instead of waiting and screening the defence like a regular 6 would. He did this to prevent the opponents from settling on the ball and forcing them to move in a different direction that will dull their attacking intent. He is good at this, but better when he is trying to dispossess a player from the side. At that kind of angle, Gravenberch could either get in front with his pace or steal the ball by better timing his tackle. However, Gravenberch didn't pay attention to a fatal flaw he had in his game. Gravenberch figured he could also compete as a central or attacking midfielder. He didn't mind that he would be battling Jamal Musiala and Thomas Müller, who play in those attacking midfield positions. Gravenberch was also sure he could compete against them since he also played the 8 role in Ajax, where he could play ahead of the deepest midfield player. As a somewhat attacking player in this setup, Gravenberch combined with the fullbacks to be able to play around the opposition. With Gravenberch having different passes in his locker, he could easily find the fullback with precision passes that find the strong foot of his teammates and put them in the position to cross the ball. Gravenberch could also hold possession in the half spaces and could combine with his teammates to avoid the opposition press. Even on his own, he could achieve this as he is a spectacular dribbler. At 6'2", Gravenberch can be nimble with the ball and likes to use shoulder drops to feint opponents and change direction with the ball. He does this to get opponents to commit to winning the ball back, and he easily steps away from them. He could also drive the ball from deep and evade opponents. The midfielder must have thought due to versatility he would get game time, but he had to first convince Bayern's coach at the time, Julian Nagelsmann, that he was deserving of opportunities. Having dynamism was one thing, but letting it show on the pitch was another. Unfortunately, there was something about Gravenberch that was concerning. He had an uninteresting approach to games and could be described as nonchalant. Well, Nagelsmann, who really wasn't convinced about Gravenberch, soon thought so. He believed Gravenberch was uninterested in the defensive phase of the game. In a Champions League match against Plzen, Nagelsmann brought Gravenberch on, and Bayern became unbalanced. They conceded 2 goals, and the Bayern coach staff blamed Gravenberch and his nonchalant attitude for the loss. The problem was Gravenberch needed improvement in defensive situations where he faced an opponent in 1v1 situations, or when he had to make recovery runs. In those situations, Gravenberch would make mistakes, and they are often costly than not. Nagelsmann gave Gravenberch more opportunities to show himself, but still, he wasn't a big fan of the Dutchman's work ethic and nonchalant attitude. In a friendly against Salzburg in January 2023, Gravenberch was supposed to play 90 minutes, but Nagelsmann hooked him off at half-time because, according to Nagelsmann, Gravenberch wasn't giving 100% when Salzburg were attacking. Nagelsmann accused Gravenberch of jogging back in some cases and blamed him in the dressing room in front of the whole team. Opportunities came fewer after that for the Dutchman, and he soon became frustrated. He hoped that things would soon change. Then, Nagelsmann got sacked, and Gravenberch must have believed that he had a clean slate with new coach, Thomas Tuchel. Gravenberch, who was now open to the idea of leaving, believed that he had a new chance, and Hassan Salihamidzic, who was the sporting director at the time, fueled this belief by stating the midfielder wasn't for sale. Unfortunately, Tuchel from the get-go didn't see Gravenberch's versatility. Thomas Tuchel, his manager at the time, said, "He's a box-to-box midfielder for me, an attacking player. The main problem for him is that we don't really have a number 8 in our 4-2-3-1 system, and we're spoiled for choice up front with really experienced players." So this meant that Gravenberch couldn't play as a part of Tuchel's double pivot in his 4-2-3-1 system either. Those positions belonged to Kimmich and Goretzka. Also, in the attacking midfielder roles, Müller and Jamal were preferred. Now, Tuchel had a problem with the Kimmich and Goretzka pivots. He wanted a more defensive player, and not once did he think to train or try Gravenberch for the role. The Dutchman had the physical profile. What remained was his attitude, and him being better at screening the defence. This was one of the criticisms of Tuchel at the time by those at Bayern. The executives felt he wasn't creative in finding solutions by trying out the younger players. He only gave Gravenberch 2 starts, although one of them was against Köln in a high-stakes match that would determine who would win the Bundesliga. Bayern did win, and in the end, Gravenberch only had substitute appearances and only had 937 minutes across all competitions. That was bad. Tuchel began to insist on a new midfielder, and just like that, Gravenberch was deemed surplus to requirements. Question was, where he would go, and who would pay the fee Bayern quoted for him. Liverpool, Manchester United, and AC Milan were all linked to him. AC Milan signed the cheaper Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Manchester United signed Mason Mount, and Liverpool were looking to make a statement signing. They pursued Romeo Lavia at first, and then switched to Alexis McAllister's old midfield partner at Brighton, Moises Caicedo. Their decision to suddenly move for Caicedo annoyed Chelsea fans. Chelsea had been spending time negotiating for Caicedo and trying to get Brighton to sell lower than their valuation of £100 million. Liverpool matched the amount Brighton wanted, and it eventually forced Chelsea to pay more. Now, in what looked like revenge, Chelsea then went ahead to also sign Romeo Lavia, leaving Liverpool unable to get their 2 main targets for the holding midfielder role. This would be their 3rd disappointment of a market where they tried to get Jude Bellingham but were priced out of a move by Borussia Dortmund. So, Liverpool, in what many believe was a panic buy, signed Wataru Endo for their holding midfielder role, and also Ryan Gravenberch as a box-to-box midfielder for €40 million. It was strange that Liverpool paid so much for Gravenberch, considering he wasn't a success at Bayern. However, it seemed that Liverpool signed him for who they thought he would be, and not who he actually was at the time. However, as I've mentioned, they didn't see him as a holding midfielder. Endo and McAllister, who Liverpool also signed, played the holding midfield role. For Klopp, the holding midfielder necessarily didn't have to be brilliant on the ball. They only needed to be able to cover grounds, break up play, and release the ball to the attackers. Klopp's midfielders usually had less of the ball and did more running. This was something that Gravenberch wasn't particularly excellent at yet, but after that shocking period at Bayern, Gravenberch was awake to his new reality. Adept or perish, he chose to adapt and began to put in the work, but the Premier League could be punishing for newbies. Gravenberch did not find it easy to adapt to the league. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to get the consistency he needed because of injuries. He wasn't also helped by the fact that, by the time he joined, Klopp was already exhausted as a coach, and Liverpool were in a bit of an experimental phase. Klopp was trying out the whole Trent Alexander-Arnold converting to midfield tactic, which for sure was worth a go with Trent's ability on the ball, but it left them unbalanced. For Gravenberch, it was the Bayern situation all over again when his presence in the team caused defensive issues. Ryan only played 26 times, starting just 14 matches. It was a significant improvement from his time at Bayern. There was more work to be done for him. However, when Slot took over after Klopp, this halted his progress, and things looked pretty sad for Gravenberch. He almost didn't become the player he is for Liverpool right now. When Slot joined, he wanted to shift away from the destroyer-type holding midfielders. He wanted to change Liverpool from the chaotic, heavy metal football they played under Klopp to a possession-heavy one, and that requires a ball-playing holding midfielder. Martin Zubimendi became a target for Liverpool, and a strong one at that. Zubimendi is, after all, seen as the direct alternative to Manchester City's Rodri. He is great in possession and can get the ball in tight areas on the pitch, and get the ball to the attackers. However, unlike Rodri, he doesn't have that pace athleticism to cover large spaces. Slot didn't mind that since Zubimendi has a way of making up for the lack of pace by his intelligent positioning that allows to be in the right areas of the pitch to prevent opponents from progressing with the ball. Zubimendi is excellent at screening the defence, and in the 23-24 season, he was among the 86th percentile of players for interceptions. That season, Zubimendi also had 61% of his aerial duels and 52% of his ground duels. He also made 5.8 recoveries per 90 minutes. With Zubimendi, Liverpool were about to be even more of a threat, but he decided to stay at Real Sociedad, and Slot had to find a solution. The coach was popular in the Dutch league for being a teacher, and now was the time to actually show how much teaching he could do. For more on Liverpool and Arsenal, click this video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy. He tried to educate Curtis Jones about the roles, but Jones got injured in pre-season, and that put a stop to that. So, Slot turned to Gravenberch about being a holding midfielder, and Gravenberch was open to it. He just wanted to play, and being the team's holding midfielder gave him that chance. Slot continued to work with Gravenberch, who had massively improved his physicality. He was better off the ball and had conditioned his mind to the defensive situations as well as the attacking ones, an attitude that many top players before him had overlooked, such as Paul Pogba, for example. He looked committed and had lost the nonchalant demeanour. The role suited him because it allowed him to be on the ball as much as possible, and also allowed him to use his other attributes. Gravenberch receives the ball deep in Liverpool's half and progresses the ball by first executing a risky but rewarding turn which allows him to beat the opponent's press. He can now decide to drive with the ball or pass, much like Steven Gerrard in his heyday. This move makes all the difference and was proved when Liverpool played Bologna in the Champions League. By receiving and turning, Gravenberch turned defence to attack in one move and allowed Liverpool to immediately have more numbers in the midfield and were able to overpower Bologna. Slot was full of praise for Gravenberch after that match and singled him out as an important part of Liverpool's win. Can you now see how good Gravenberch is and why he is important to the team? From being one of the players that caused them not to have balance in the 23-24 season, Gravenberch adds balance to the team. He is like Manchester City's Rodri. Right now, without him, Liverpool could have a hard time dominating opponents or even play well at all. Gravenberch has 89.34% of his passes successfully completed, 86.3% of his passes per 90, and makes around 14 successful progressive passes. He is in the 95th percentile for progressive carries. Liverpool can't believe their luck with this guy. Off the ball, he has also been exceptional. He makes about 2 interceptions and tackles per game, recovers the ball about 6 times per game, and hasn't committed any errors leading to goals so far. This is particularly impressive considering the areas he receives the ball in. Gravenberch is certainly enjoying himself and has transformed, and in this new role, he's become the new Steven Gerrard for Liverpool, and has become as important for Liverpool as Rodri has proven to be for cities during their recent downfall. He was the legend reborn. Gerrard also can play multiple positions on the pitch and had incredible vision. Gerrard could in an instant turn defence to attack with a long ball, something Gravenberch himself has shown skill for. Like Gerrard, Gravenberch isn't afraid to duel and is very good at breaking up opposition plays. Looks like Liverpool are in safe hands with the Dutch midfielder. And there's more. Gravenberch also shares attributes with another former Liverpool player, Xabi Alonso. Alonso, when he was at Liverpool, played the deepest for them and was the team's conductor, helping to link the defence to the midfield just like Gravenberch is currently doing. With Gravenberch, other players can be at their best. McAllister can help join the attack, knowing that Gravenberch will effectively screen their defence. Liverpool have had favourable opening matches, and as they face tougher opponents, Gravenberch has to dig deeper to show his quality. As good as he's been for Liverpool, consistency is needed if he can be the one to guide the Reds to the Premier League title. Does he have the abilities to be the best? Absolutely. Will he be the best? Time will tell.